Nobody beats Brady 3 straight times, at least not in basically the last 20 years. Daniel Jones, 0-8 in prime time. Worst by quarterback in the Super Bowl era. Giants start the season 3-7 or worse. 5th straight year. Yikes. Meanwhile, Bucs, 5-0 at home. Last 4 by 20 or more points. They win 30-10. They cover the spread. They were given 11. Jonathan Jones said, take the Bucs. How about the all on the line? Joe Musso, Daniel Jones, under 1.5 touchdown passes. Check. Bucs, first half, under 6.5. Danny Cannell. Check. I had Saquon Barkley over 23.5 receiving yards. Check. I mentioned JJ. Had the Bucs plus 11. Check. That's why you watch. All right. You see it. Look. They were great in the road in the playoffs last year. Went to Washington, went to New Orleans, went up to Green Bay, and then basically played at home in the Super Bowl in that stadium, and they haven't looked back since. 5-0 at home, and look at the interception touchdown ratio. I mean, 20-3 in 5 games. That means he's putting in the end zone 4 times himself on average. Yikes. All right, JJ, what's the headline from this one, which seemed very okay, I mean, there's an interesting play to, big guy touchdown.
Sure.
That's always fun. But it never really felt like this was going to be a 50-point game or that the Giants had any chance to win.
Okay, so this NFL season has been all about parity, right? We don't know who's good. We know who's bad in some instances. But a lot of times, bad teams are beating teams that we thought were good. We've seen it several times over the last couple weeks especially. And also, the Giants have played Tampa close, played them close last year, played them close the year, all that stuff. But this was never close. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the reigning Super Bowl champs, the team that doesn't lose at home, took care of business and kept this game out of arm's reach, really, from the second quarter on. That's what we expected, except because of how this season has gone, maybe we didn't. The Bucs did what they needed to do, and they did it especially coming off 2 consecutive games where they lost to a Trevor Siemian-led Saints team and the Taylor Heineke-led Washington football team with a bye in there as well. And so maybe we were expecting another letdown game from the Bucs. Maybe not a loss, but they shouldn't have been out in front the way that they were all this game. No, the Bucs took care of business. Who cares about parity in the NFL? It's still Tom Brady at home with really his full complement of weapons. Obviously, Antonio Brown was there on the sideline, but Gronk was back. Mike Evans, who pulled up lame there toward the end of the game. We're going to have to check on that hamstring as the week goes along. But they were able to run the football. Tom Brady ran the football. Probably the longest rush by a 44-year-old quarterback in NFL history.
Well, it's him or George Blanda, right? I mean, how long is that?
Well, there might have been a fake punt in there somewhere.
Warren Moon could have been in there, right?
Maybe.
How many guys are 44? That's right. And then he looks spry, no signs of slowing down. I think you're right. I think Tampa checked the box and looked pretty good doing it. For the Giant offense, some very strange statistics. Daniel Jones had 23 completions. He had 38 attempts for 167 yards.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney, 12 targets, 40 yards. 7 catches, 40 yards.
Couldn't push the ball down the field.
Saquon, 6 carries, 6 catches, less than 60 yards. Not each, total. Why didn't they take more shots against a team that didn't have Vita Vea, that really didn't have a great secondary, and you have some speed? No Kenny Golladay, no Evan Ingram down the seam. I mean, they didn't take any big shots. What was the game plan tonight? Explain it to me.
Well, I wish I could. It was another befuddling game plan from Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator there, who everyone sort of enjoyed the Andrew Thomas touchdown there, and so it made folks feel good. But it didn't make a ton of sense, the entire game plan. You're just waiting for Daniel Jones to take the shot. And he felt the pressure. He had the pressure all night. There's no question whether it was a 4-man rush or every now and then Todd Bowles is going to dial up an exotic blitz that, you haven't seen on tape. I remember talking with Todd Bowles around this time last year, and I asked him about all of his blitzing. I said, when do you come up with these? Oh, yeah, throughout the week. Write them down on napkins, write them down on notepads, keep my notebook with me. He doesn't even use 95% of the blitzes that he comes up with on a week-to-week basis. And so certainly Daniel Jones was confused out there because most quarterbacks that face Todd Bowles' defense, they are confused. So, yeah, he couldn't push the football down the field based on scheme, based on what the defense was doing to him. You want to get the football in your playmakers' hands. Kadarius Toney, there was a good plan on Toney. He wasn't able to go many places. And frankly, Saquon Barkley looks like he's still injured. He does not have any explosion or burst, doesn't look like he's ready to get hit. When he is getting hit, it's not like getting him into a rhythm. Frankly, and EK, we were watching the game together.
I was going to follow up with Saquon. And is it he looks like he's still injured, or he looks like he just doesn't trust himself, or he's not there, or it's been so many games where he's been out and so many times in a row, essentially, where he's been hurt that he's just not running hard. I mean, we saw it a couple of times. We were like, oh, he's running hard. Oh, no, wait, that's Booker.
That's Booker. Right. It's difficult to say because you don't – the injuries are piling up for him, right? It was the ACL, and then he comes back from it, and they were going to do everything right by him, but he didn't take any licks in training camp or in the preseason, and that was the right thing to do. But he comes out in that Denver game in week 1, and he rushes 10 times for 26 yards, and he looked like a shell of himself. And it took him a couple weeks to get going, and then boom, finally, in that Dallas game, what was it, week 4 or week 5, he finally looks like he's getting back to form. Then he has that freak ankle injury, and then he has the false positive COVID test right as he's about to make his comeback. And so today we're seeing it with Saquon Barkley. He's not all the way there. We hope that he can get back there. Maybe it's going to take a couple of weeks, but certainly he was not ready for it tonight.
Does Tampa need to have a guy? I mean, let me explain what I mean. And I'm not talking about like in the NBA where you have to have a guy who takes the last shot. But if they get in a spot where they're down and it's, 3rd and 11 and he's got to make a tough throw, 4th and 8, he's got to make a tough throw. Do they have to have somebody that you feel like is their number one option? They're Devontae Adams. They're Justin Jefferson. Tonight, Evans, 6 catches, 73 yards. Gronk, 6 catches, 71 yards. Godwin, 6 catches, 65 yards. 2 of the 3 of them scored a touchdown. Like, they are trying to do it basically almost even keel, and you don't know who's going to get it in the shuffle. Is that better or worse?
I think it's better. And I think it's better because you don't have the dudes to match up with their full complement of weapons when they are healthy. Imagine if Antonio Brown were healthy and was out there on the field. And next week he very well could against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, the Buffalo Bills, whatever team that you think has a good defense, they don't have enough defensive backs who can cover all those guys. And if they do have enough defensive backs, then they don't have the linebacker who can stick with Rob Gronkowski. And if they do have the linebacker, then the safeties are going to be less than. You don't have the back 7 that can keep up with the Mike Evans, with Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin and Rob Gronkowski and Leonard Fournette, who's catching the football really well out of the backfield as well. They have too many options. And so as long as those guys are healthy, as long as they're not beating themselves and they have to shore up their penalties, and they're lucky that they faced a lesser team today where it didn't absolutely kill them. And frankly, that Mike Evans letting that football glance off of his chest and be intercepted against a better football team, that really would have hurt them. It did not tonight. So they have to shore up their own mistakes, but they just have too much talent out there for most defenses.
I agree with you, by the way. I don't think you have to have a guy. I mean, look, it's nice if you have a Tyreek Hill and Kelsey. That's what it is in Kansas City, right? They got their 2 guys that's worked for them. You see what up in Green Bay. They got 17.
Yeah.
We know that works for them. But I think in Tampa, they can even be more dangerous when they have so many quality guys coming at you. Any weakness that you saw with Tampa tonight? Anything I can take if I'm the Rams, if I'm Arizona, if I'm one of these teams, Dallas, down the line, where I may have to see these guys in the playoffs and say, I got to find a way to pick them off?
Maybe not. Not tonight. I didn't see that. I mean, they wound up penalties-wise. They had 6 for 39. They came into this game averaging about 8 per game. There were a couple DPIs that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had. So you can throw the football up and sort of sucker them into some defensive pass interference penalties. That's going to get you a big gain. We're seeing it across the league. The Indianapolis Colts, Carson Wentz, there's really no one better at it than him. And again, I think that's going to be the game plan next week for them. They're going to run Jonathan Taylor, especially Vita Vea, who is doubtful for this game, does not play next week, though, of course, if he were doubtful for this game, you would expect him to be there as the key cog in the middle next week against the Colts. That game is going to say a lot.
I want to see Jonathan Taylor against Vita Vea in that defense. That's going to be fun.
I cannot wait. That game is going to say a lot about the Buccaneers, and it's also going to say a lot about the Colts team that I'm not sure are real contenders, even though they just wiped the floor with the Bills.
All right, Bucs, you kind of feel like they're one of those teams right now, based upon what they accomplished last year, that they're not the favorite to double negative you until somebody else knocks them out. You would have to take the Bucs out of the NFC until somebody else knocks them down, and that's a tall order, especially with all those offensive weapons and number 12 behind center. Now, here you go. Daniel Jones. Now, I don't know. I mean, 405, 425, that's feel like we're sort of grasping as a national media with that, but the prime time is the prime time. 0-8. That's it. And first quarterback in Super Bowl era to begin his career with 8 straight primetime losses. Now, I'm talking to Charles Davis, as we did before. He's like, I don't know if he's favored in any of those games. He certainly wasn't favored tonight, but still, 0 for 8 is 0 for 8. And as Danny Cannell, who quarterbacked the Giants, told us pregame, that's going to be brought up every single time now. And he's going to have to worry about it. It's baggage. It's just more bricks in the bag that you have to walk around in until you break that streak. He is, in fact, 0 for the worst ever in the Super Bowl era.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.